Brody, your smile after that intro every
I
time.
love the intro so
It
much.
startles me every time.
Me
Yeah,
too.
it's
Every
like
time
it's
I'm
like an A-Team episode. We have adventure.
We're
today.
gonna have to, yeah. Maybe we come on dressed up as some of the 18 members.
That would be cool.
I volunteer Andrea to get a mohawk.
I would do
So
that.
to do
I'll
that.
be Murdoch. I'll be Murdoch for sure.
You know, Brody would be the shady swindler guy. What was his name?
Face.
Face.
Face. That's
There you
right.
Dirk
go.
Benedict, such a hottie.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
By the way.
Edward, what's the date time today?
Oh,
Oh no.
who knows? Recorded March 22nd, 2023. How you doing, Andrea? It seems like I just saw you.
You did. We had such a good time in Redmond last week together. Looking forward to the day all four of us can be somewhere at the same time. But glad to be home. Glad to be sleeping in my bed. All that good stuff.
Yeah, it was a tiring trip. It was overly exhaustive, and I don't know why. But did you learn anything?
I learned that I'm officially too old to fly back and forth across the country in the same week.
There you go. There
Mm.
you go. I learned something. I learned a bunch of names of people I didn't know. So that was good to see people and shake hands with those I saw that knew virtually but had not met in person. Uh, definitely met a very cool guy, long-term friend of Andrea, Brian. He kicked it off. He has a good sense of wit about him. I like it. Plus, he laughed at my jokes. So I like him even more.
Right.
Right. So there you go.
Right.
No. Yeah, that sort of consumed us up last week. This week is short. I'm trying to do some debrief and um. Well, I'm sorry, Andy. Was there anything else you wanted to throw in today?
Nope, not at all.
Well, I'll give you my gripe.
Please.
You hear that scraping noise. It's an axe to grind.
Here we go.
You know,
I get us
I ask
fired before you
people.
go.
Say what?
Is this gonna get us fired? Are we good?
No. It's not good.
Okay.
In this current climate, you don't have to do anything to get fired. You just have to be there. Um. So I'll just ask a basic question. Do I need Azure Arc to install AMA on an on-premise server? Okay.
Can I answer that one?
You did. You know, I trust you, but I went somewhere else. Got a different answer. And went someone else and got the same answer. And went someone else and got a totally different answer from the same answer and the none answer. So I decided to just do it. So my question was, can I install the Azure monitoring agent on an on-premise Linux box without having Arc? Everywhere you go, no, it's required. No, it's not. So I even went to the product group, and if the product group is listening, you whatever about that.
I think they are.
I installed it. If you're gonna give me these prerequisites, tell the truth on why is needed, right? Because when you tell an engineer it can't be done, what do? We go engineer it so it can be done. I'm not asking it to prove you dumb. I have a customer who had a reservation about having what they deemed as an agent on one of their on-prem servers. So I told them you don't. I now know the reason why you do, but it's not a technical reason, I believe, because I've already debunked the technical reason. I believe it's because if you do not have it on there, you can't get support for that log collector. You will not get support. And if you do call support, probably the first thing they're going to say, we need to put out the Arc agent on your machine. So business and support and recommendation, yes. Absolute technical blocker, no. And so that's my axe ground. I did it, and I'll prove I did. I'll show it on screen if anybody calls me a liar. So I've just been mad all week about that. For some reason, I'm old and cranky. I don't know what's going on.
Take a picture and show us, Edward. We want to see it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do it.
Oh,
So
I mean, I think that's true of many things. Like, could you run AV on a Windows 2003 server? You could absolutely install it. Is it supported? 100% not. Right. So I think every company, every in the world has something similar to that. Where does it work? Yes. Is it supported? No.
Don't call us.
yeah, and I was going to call one of our previous guests, who's an Arc expert. Who's that? Thomas.
Thomas, yeah, he's still, yeah.
You know, I didn't want to pull him into the minutia, but I'm sure I would have got a straight answer for him. I should have just went to him. So big shout out, Thomas. You need to come back on and talk about this Azure Arc thing, the one Arc, right? That's all that I had. I'm rebuilding my lab up. You guys ought to know what we were doing with the show in the background. Been playing with that. I'm trying to help out on the RFP that I got roped into. But the person's a really good person. They never really asked for help, so gotta help.
That's nice.
Really self-sufficient people. Yep. And thank you, Andrea, for sending over your RFP document for me to plagiarize.
My pleasure. We're building on the work of others.
Exactly.
Put that
Right.
at me right there.
Smart.
Mhm.
All right.
Brody, what didn't you do this week?
Edward, I'm not doing all kinds of things. Actually, what I am been trying to do is go through about a gazillion use cases that this one customer is feeding me for data security. They're like, well, what if you hide credit card numbers in a Visio document? Well, what if you hide it this way? Well, what if we try to exfil that way? And so I haven't since the last time I worked in my lab, I had the whole thing locked down because this one customer was like, no external sharing, none of this, block everything. So I've had to go and almost rebuild the whole thing and undo every control I've ever put in so I can start testing all these edge cases and oh man, it was kind of a good exercise to go back through. I almost wish there was a reset option, right? You could go into a certain console and be like, you know what? Reset to factory standards. It would be nice. I don't know why. I don't know how often you'd use it, but for labs, yeah, right? If I want to stand something up brand new, let's just reset my MDE. Boom. Everything's brand new.
The reset mechanism will probably be the way you deploy it. So obviously, if you're doing CI/CD, you could push down to net zero and blow away, in Azure, blow away everything, right? Or you could prevent certain things from being a certain way or revert back by using policy or blueprints. But if you're just talking about a 365 tenant,
I know.
I
don't want
see
the
why
whole tenant. I just want a certain context, right? I just want the security portal, or I just want just MDI, or I just want DLP, right? I just want that.
You don't see why that's problematic.
I do see why it's problematic, but it'd be nice to have. It'd be nice to have for testing purposes. Yes, the big scary reset button would be a problem. Yes, I can appreciate that.
Well, I need to pick your brain on some DLP stuff later on in the week
Sure.
out of Dan. So
$4.50 an hour, whatever you need, bud. Yeah, and then outside of that, I've got a customer who's come back, and they're like, you know what? We actually do really want Defender for Endpoint and Defender for Cloud. Go figure. We got Lara and Future coming up here, and I got a customer who's like, we actually want to do
Lara.
this again.
Yeah, Lara.
Lara.
Sarah with an L.
Shucks.
See?
Edward's the guy that messes up the.
not the new Edward. See, I pay
Oh
attention.
yeah, you're good. Chat.
So
anyway, they're
Elenia.
into it. They're into it. So I can't wait to work on that with them. And today we're probably going to learn a thing or two about Yield Defender for Cloud. So I'm excited. Things are good. It's +6 out. Snow's melting. Things are good out here, man. What about you, Rod?
Elenia Trent. That's Elenia to you.
Elenia Trent, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah. Isn't that funny? They said they just fixed it. I just checked. They didn't. Just so people know, we have this first ever Microsoft Secure event next week. I have my speaker page, and somehow I am listed as my youngest daughter. If you go to my speaker profile page today, go to secure.microsoft.com and look for me in the speakers list. You're going to find Eliana Trent with my picture. I'd be happy to give the speaking content over to her, but anyway. So that's happening next week. I'll be part of that. Whether or not it's just in name only, or you'll see my face, you'll wonder who I am. I have no idea, but I saw the list of announcements for next week. I saw that list today. People should attend this to get that list. We're not creating a book of announcements. You need to kind of focus and pay attention to our blogs, to Microsoft Secure next week, to get a sense of what we're announcing. There is one announcement that they would not tell us. It's so super tinted, so super secret. Even Microsoft employees won't know until the morning of Secure. We'll get an email and it'll have a FAQ so we can talk to customers about it and stuff like that. So kind of
Clippy for Sentinel.
I can tell everybody
Clippy for
want to
Sentinel. You
know.
heard it here.
I'll tell them I don't have any reservation. Show of hands of our listeners who want to know. I'll tell. I don't know either. What,
and then,
Microsoft is buying Google.
Whoa, that would
we
be
only want the
bored.
Google. They can keep the Gale. So that's it.
That's on the 28th, right?
that's the 28th. That's next Tuesday, right? Yeah, next Tuesday.
Yeah, this Tuesday.
And then I'm working on the first ever publicly delivered Sentinel/AI session that I'll be delivering at the end of April in May in Minneapolis, beginning of May. So that should be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Everything is AI these days, right? Everything. And in fact, I asked AI for our mascot, and this is what I got. For those listeners, you have to come back and watch the replay of the actual video to see this, but this is our mascot currently. I think it's kind of cool. Microsoft Security
Yeah.
Insight Show. I don't know.
It
I don't know.
works.
Yeah.
What's their name?
What?
I think it's
Oh,
Missy.
what's in the name?
It's
Misty.
Missy.
Missy. Let me see that
Missy.
again.
MSI. Missy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
Andrew,
see it.
nailed it.
I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. So we have some guests today. Let me
Let's bring
real
'em
quick.
on.
This is Women in Cybersecurity Month. This seems like it's been the longest month ever, but it's been
five
awesome.
Wednesdays.
Yeah, 5 shows this month, which is awesome. We had Maria Thompson at the beginning. Basu was on, and then Ann Johnson last week, of course. This week we have our guest. Next week, on March 29th, we have Elizabeth Stevens. She's the director of DC Cyber Risk Intelligence. So that's going to be super awesome. Next month is our partner month as we lead up to MISA, as we lead up to RSA next week. All of our MISA partners. These are some of our great partners. We've talked to these people before. Defenda, Drew Perry from Ontanu will be with us. That should be absolutely interesting since OpenAI actually acquired his company. I was at RSA last year with Drew Perry. He interviewed me about some Sentinel stuff. They were just there, 3 people, just so that they can kind of get a sense of RSA and security and stuff like. A year later, he's running this company that has been acquired by Ontanu. So, I mean, by OpenAI, which is Ontanu. So that's pretty significant. Know some people from Send Server will be with us. Blue Voyant is always, a good partner of this show. Mona will be with us. So that's what's happening next month. I wanted to do that real quick. That's it for me, except, I may replace myself with some kind of AI chatbot here shortly. But
We thought you already were one.
that's what people ask all the time. But we do have a couple guests on.
We have 2
with us.
guests?
We have
Two
2
guests.
guests. I'm not sure we can actually.
Goodness.
Oh
man,
my God!
Hi.
It's Lara and Future.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We're excited to be here.
So I have the privilege of knowing these 2 outstanding security practitioners by virtue of our weekly call. Is it weekly or bi-weekly? One of the 2. The GBB and program.
Weekly
call.
is 1, bi-weekly is 2.
No, I know what it means.
Oh.
Maybe he doesn't.
I think the last time we were talking, you guys were doing an update on Defender for Containers, which I believe that is
Yeah.
your superpower. So
Future
we love
is
to hear
the
more.
Defender for Containers goddess.
Goddess. Wow.
That's
okay.
a big title.
And Johnson got everybody making goddesses now, right? There won't be any roles for us mere mortals anymore. It'll be on the job description. Must be a goddess.
Lara and Future, would you like to introduce yourselves? We could talk
Yeah.
all about all the goddess powers that you have. We're really excited.
Yeah, definitely. So I am Lara Goldstein. I'm from the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Customer Experience Engineering team on a new team called, well, it's not a new team, but it was just renamed to be called Customer Acceleration Team. So we sit in the product group, but we primarily work with customers to help them deploy Defender for Cloud, work through any blockers, attend different sorts of webinars and events and present there, and really just make sure our customers fully understand the value of Defender for Cloud and get help with any sort of technical challenges that they may run into, which should be very few because Defender for Cloud is great.
So how is that different from?
Can Future introduce herself first?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Future Kortor. I'm a program manager on the exact same team as Lara, helping customers to deploy and use Defender for Cloud.
Awesome. Thanks for joining the show.
Welcome.
Of you. Thank you. Now, Rob, what were you asking?
So Lara and Future, how is what you're doing now in this new renamed team? Because Microsoft loves to rebrand everything. How is this different from what you did before? Is it pretty much the same, or is there any additional added responsibilities potentially?
Well, for future, no. She has been on this team. It just changed from get to production to customer acceleration team. Just a new name, no difference
Exactly.
in responsibilities. For me, I actually moved over to this team about 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
I was still in the customer experience engineering group beforehand, but I focused more on pre-sales conversations. So I was able to work with hundreds and hundreds of customers a year, but now I'm dedicated to around 15 customers that I work with pretty closely.
Bet those customers are happy about that.
They're happy about it, but some of my friends from the sales team that used to come to me for all of their customer questions and everything beforehand aren't too happy.
So I've noticed that working at Microsoft, when you jump between roles, there is like, and it'll still happen. It's been a couple years since I've been in the field. I will still have somebody reach out to me from 2 years ago. Hey, Rod, can you do this? I'm like, no, I can't. So there's kind of like this gap of time where, people don't know when you change roles. It's almost like we need some kind of, and maybe that's something I'll work on with AI, some kind of formal corporate announcement for when anyone changes roles.
I should just set a team status message. Hey, I don't support this anymore. Go to someone else.
Stop calling me.
Don't think me about it.
That's what mine says all the time.
Really?
Yeah, I've got a polite one,
Stop
but
calling me.
I see people who are like, just leave me alone. I'll message you if you need me. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this person seems fun. Hey, I got a question. It's been a burning question I've had. Future, maybe you can help me out with this question, okay? Can you help me understand what types of clouds Defender for Cloud covers? Is it
That is a great
Cumulus
question.
clouds? Is it Stratus clouds? Is it Cirrus clouds? Yeah.
Uber.
No,
Go
that
ahead.
was
dad joke over. Yeah.
that was perfect. I was not expecting that. That was perfect. But in terms of what clouds Microsoft Defender for Cloud covers, that is a great question. Because we actually cover more than just Azure. We do provide coverage for AWS, so Amazon Web Service, and Google Cloud as well. And then if you have any servers or containers that are hosted on premises, we provide coverage for those as well. So it's really a solution that you can use to get like a bird's eye view of your resources across these key cloud providers.
Nice. That's cool. Edward.
He's trying to talk. You're muted there, buddy.
He's getting old. He doesn't know where the mute button.
Must not have been meant for me to say it.
There you go.
So we're talking about Defender for Cloud exclusively up until this point. I thought my understanding was you guys not only cover that, but you also cover Defender for X, whether it be containers, does it be storage accounts? I won't throw Defender for TI in there yet. I don't believe that's a real thing just yet. It is, but So are you hyper focused on one of the defenders, and the Defender for Cloud is it?
You go ahead, Future.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So within Defender for Cloud, as I mentioned, we provide that bird's eye view. But I think the really cool thing about Defender for Cloud is that we have these different plans. So we provide like out of the box capabilities, security posture capabilities for all your resources. And then when you're looking for more advanced threat detection capabilities, that's when you turn on these specific Defender for X plans. So for example, we have Defender for servers, containers, Key Vault, etc. And then within our team, we do specialize in these plans. So for example, I really focus on Defender for containers, and Lara focuses on Defender for DevOps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Drew Nichols is probably your best friend.
Yeah, they are best friends.
Yeah, he is my best friend at Microsoft for sure.
So to future, I think I'm becoming a fan of and Andrew will tell you. Last week I'm sitting here reading about Kubernetes all week. I'm like, oh my God, how did I miss this? And it was talking about how to secure it. So I think that's going to be my next look. What you say, Andrew? Your next nerdy thing you want to do? I'm like, oh man, this is cool. How did I miss out on this? So I will be bothering you for questions.
No, please don't hesitate to.
This is
uh,
where you take that tip from Lara and put that thing on your Teams notification. Please don't
Please
bother me
don't
with
reach
this.
out if your name is.
so within those disciplines that you talked about, and you guys have identified which one. I'll start with you, Lara.
Yeah.
Um, give me the one or two top things that says if you're not using Defender for CI/CD or Azure DevOps, you're missing out on this. So, what top two things that you can say?
Yeah.
Because when you talk about CI and CD, security people really like those developers.
Right. Yeah, and that's the issue. I mean, for a very long time, and even still today, security and developers, they have a lot of friction between them because developers, especially with cloud native applications, they want to deploy applications as quickly as possible. They don't want to be held back by security. And a lot of the times what happens is developers, they have all these new releases, they're keeping up with customer demand. And then security is like, wait, hold on a second. We need to run all of these reviews. You have hundreds of vulnerabilities that you need to resolve. You need to fix all of these different issues. And that's a struggle for developers. They get really frustrated with security because of that. And security has historically not really been able to keep up with the speed of development. So that's where Defender for DevOps really comes into the picture to solve that issue, because we're bringing that DevOps insights and knowledge into Defender for Cloud as part of Defender for DevOps. So security professionals, they can review different findings within Defender for Cloud. They can see where they have exposed secrets in public repositories. So if you have a GitHub repository that allows for public access and you have an Azure Storage account key hosted in there, that's a lot more important than having a GitHub repository that's completely locked off. It's not used for any production-facing applications, and that has a secret. So it's really helping developers focus most on the issues that actually matter and having them remediate those in their development lifecycle. So as soon as they submit a pull request, we're going to annotate that right away saying, you have this secret. We recommend that you remove it. Put it in an Azure Key Vault, put it in an Amazon, key management service. Just do something besides just having that plain text secret. And that's where Defender for DevOps, in my opinion, and hopefully our customers' opinions, really helps.
Well, I can't tell you how important that is. The number of conferences that I've been to and sat down at lunch or talked to customers. So I was good example. I was at a conference in Redmond late last year, and it was a combined conference, IT pros, security, and then there was also VS Live was there as well. And sitting down at lunch talking to them, I'm sitting there talking about security stuff, and they're at a developer conference and said, man, I wish we would have had more security stuff at this developer conference. They're not talking about anything, right? And it's kind of sad because I think from a Microsoft perspective, this is like the first kind of approach to helping to kind of secure that DevOps, that pipeline process. And I think it's really important to talk about. I think what we're doing is really critical because they're asking for more security. They want to know how to secure their code. They want to know that their code is secure when they're deploying it.
Well, not butt heads, right?
Which developer is that? Andrew and I had the privilege of managing is a strong word. We had the privilege of herding a bunch of developers as we were developing projects. And they were beating us to death because deadlines are suggestions. Oh, okay. I get it. Sometime in April, right? Oh, April 1st. Oh, okay. Sometime in April. Yeah, there you go. But I can see it. Super important, and it's amazing the exposure you get from security, and that little project that we did together, Andrew, is still it was really good. So I would pose the same question to you, Future, on containers.
Yeah. So I mean, for one, the key thing with containers is that adoption for containers is booming. A lot of companies are transitioning to using microservices, and it's really complex, as you kind of mentioned before, understanding containers and Kubernetes. So with the Defender for Containers plan, we really try to help with that. So one of the key things that we offer is the vulnerability scanning. So we offer scanning for images that are stored in the Azure container registries and also Elastic container registries, which is from Amazon. So um, security professionals can see like what vulnerabilities exist in the image before they're deploying them to the cluster. And then on top of that, we actually also provide runtime visibility for the scanning as well. So being able to correlate those images in ACR to what's running on the AKS cluster,
Mm-hmm.
and showing you like which running images have vulnerabilities. So I think that's one of the cool things about the Defender for Containers plan. And then I would say the another cool thing about it is that we leverage Azure policy via this add-on. So with this Azure policy for Kubernetes add-on, we're able to get insight into the data plane of the cluster and provide you with an additional set of recommendations. So with the Defender for Cloud plan, you get out-of-the-box CSPM recommendations for all your resources. And then when you turn on Defender for Containers and you deploy this Azure policy add-on, you get an additional set of recommendations that are specifically focused on the data plane.
Mm-hmm.
And the really cool thing about them is that they come with like these different enforcement capabilities that are from Azure policy. So maybe you're familiar with like deny. So one example that we usually use is like there's a recommendation that says container images should be deployed from trusted registries.
Mm-hmm.
And the customer can actually go into the product and they can use parameters to define what the trusted registry is. And then they'll use this policy enforcement where, let's say they try to deploy an image that's not from any one of these trusted registries. Then with this add-on, it would actually block the deployment.
Which is like super important, because imagine if an attacker got access to your Kubernetes cluster and then just deployed an image that's known to run crypto mining software, and then all of a sudden now they're running a crypto mining program on your Kubernetes nodes and costing you a fortune. So being
Exactly.
able to block that, it's a really nice feature to have.
I noticed you said the data plane, and I get that. You start spinning up, more worker nodes because you have resource deprecation and no more pods are coming up, but you're still only manipulating the data. Do you do anything with the control plane? So like preventing those from coming up and running as root, which is auto default. You need to turn that off, I think. Is that something that we can look at the control plane? Look at me reading my notes and stuff, right?
No more data plane now.
Say again?
Yeah, that's on the data plane still.
Oh,
Like being
okay.
able to say you
You
can
see
block
that?
the deployment of containers that are going to be running as root. Sorry,
Ah.
future. I know you're the goddess here, so
No. That's a tough title to take on. But no, Lara's exactly right. And we do provide alerting for the control plane as well. Another feature of the Defender for Containers plan is that there's this daemon set. And what it does, it deploys a set of pods to each node on the cluster, and we actually document like what exactly these pods are doing. But the key thing is that they're collecting inventory, runtime processes, and really sending that back to the Defender for Cloud backend. But with this daemon set, we're able to get like alerts as well. So we're also able to notify you of suspicious behavior that's going on the cluster. So I think you mentioned crypto mining. So we do have an alert that would detect on that as well if there's any suspicious processes related to crypto mining.
Very cool.
I
I
thought
feel
for
like
sure
we
it.
jumped in. I'm sorry, go ahead,
No,
Rob.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, I feel like we jumped in the deep end of the pool. Like we went straight to like demons and Kubernetes, and we, for anybody that might be listening, can somebody give us a low level overview of what Defender for Cloud is, period?
Yeah, it's
And
good.
oh yeah, we probably should have started with that. We just went right into the Defender.
It's like one of those TV shows where they start the next day and then they backtrack and tell you what happened. So.
Yes.
Yeah,
those
we'll take a step
Doing the
back.
flashbacks.
So, Defender
Yeah.
for Cloud is Microsoft's cloud native application protection platform. And the marketing terms would be that it helps you start secure with Defender for DevOps, and it helps you stay secure with cloud security posture management, assessing the overall basically posture of your cloud workloads and resources. So understanding, do you have a storage account that's exposed to the internet? Do you have a web application that is allowing for requests over FTP instead of enforcing FTPS? Where do you have those misconfigurations that attackers could potentially compromise? So making sure you have that proactive view in place to enforce best practices, keeping up to track with different sorts of compliance standards, and then also get any sort of alerts when there is an active threat to one of your workloads. Like what Future said about the crypto mining on your Kubernetes clusters, being able to get an alert, send that over to Sentinel or any other security incident event management system, and triage that appropriately. So we have coverage for storage accounts, we have coverage for containers, for SQL, for Azure Resource Manager, Key Vault, DNS, anything you can think of. Defender for Cloud has a plan for it, probably.
Yeah, and I also noticed someone in the comments included a link to a blog post that was actually just released today. And it really speaks to how Defender for Cloud is a cloud native application protection platform, or CNAPP, which may be a recent term that y'all are familiar with. But I'd highly recommend it because I think it really gives an overview of like the key capabilities that we're providing in Defender for Cloud, and why it can be useful to organizations looking to stay secure in the cloud.
So on that note,
Thank you.
go back and you said CNAPP, which is once again acronyms. Can you
Yeah.
tell them
Cloud
what it
Native
stands for?
Application Protection Platform.
And what does it
Yeah.
do? What am
It's
I doing?
supposed to unify security and compliance capabilities to prevent, detect, and respond to any sort of cloud workload threats from development all the way to runtime. So you might have a template in Azure DevOps that's creating a storage account. You can know right away if that infrastructure as code template has any sort of misconfigurations. Does it allow for public access? Does it have a storage firewall attached to it? Is it enforcing those best practices to make sure that not just anyone can get access to it and exploit it? And then all the way on the runtime side, so when it is deployed into the cloud, continue to monitor it, make sure no one makes any sort of changes that would make it vulnerable. And if it is vulnerable and it does have to allow for public access in any way, you want to monitor that. You want to make sure that no malware is being uploaded to it, that someone's not coming in from a suspicious IP address and downloading a bunch of data and stealing all of your sensitive information. You want to know what's sensitive and you want to be able to protect it. So it really just gives you like that end-to-end visibility in a central place for multi-cloud environments.
Yeah, and a key thing to keep in mind about CNAPP is that some organizations they might be using like several vendors to achieve this goal. So maybe they're using one platform for security posture management, and then another platform for protecting their servers, and then another one for containers. So with the key thing with CNAPP is that you're looking at a single security platform that will do all of these things. And it really helps to reduce the complexity for security professionals, because they're no longer having to rely on several different vendors to help with security. They can just use one vendor, in this case, Defender for Cloud, to help simplify security across the different cloud platforms.
That's so important, right? Like, there's so many. Everyone's in multi-cloud these days.
Exactly.
Across, it's every customer I work with, right? I'm sure Andrea and Rod doesn't work with customers because he's lucky. Andrea and Edward feel the same way. Everyone's across all the different ecosystems, so to have that centralized location is critical. That's
I'm
really
going to ask the hard question. I'm going to split between both of our guests.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm scared.
Come on, you guys are going to stop doing that to me. I'm the nice guy on the show. Oh, so I love all of this. CNAPP, and in my little small brain, I just said, oh, okay, comprehensive, right? Do all of the defenders talk to each other? Is the integration there? And when can I go? Because customers love to say this. I love all your products. Where's the single pane of glass?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
That is a really good question.
That's a tough question.
Yeah, but
Teacher, you got it.
well, first off, I think one of the good things about Defender for Cloud, so just to take a step back, so Defender for Cloud is, the platform, like when you go into the Azure portal, you navigate to Defender for Cloud, and then that's where you're going to turn on these different plans that we're talking about. But the cool thing about Defender for Cloud is that you can choose which threat protection plans you want to use. So you can choose to turn on Defender for servers, but not turn on Defender for storage. You can choose to use Defender for containers, but not Defender for DevOps. So I think that's the really cool thing about our product, because it does give organizations some flexibility. So, I mean, ideally, we would like them to turn everything on and, only use Defender for Cloud. But obviously, you know, there might be, other reasons why, or, why they're using other vendors. But it does give them that flexibility to choose what plans they want to turn on, and which services they want to use.
Yeah, it'll be some rare cases where you have a very mature customer that, and the other products are just they're still in contract or it's compensating
Yeah,
controls.
exactly.
If they have, they're mapping to a framework. If you don't have it, you have it somewhere else. So I'm going to ask another hard question,
Oh boy.
and it's going to be unfair because it's a question that I hate answering. But we equal opportunities on this show. You made a comment that I can go in. I'm familiar with it. I'm looking at both screens. I'm inside Defender, and I can slide on, and it's based on subscription. Does the cost change with more buttons I slide over?
Yes. And actually, Future had a blog post. She actually created a really great workbook, I guess a year back, but now it's actually part of the product altogether. And it's a cost estimation workbook. So you can see what each Defender plan will cost you. So if you want to turn on Defender for containers, you can get an estimate of what that will actually cost for your subscriptions based on your historical usage. So you can get that estimate, but each plan is going to cost you something.
I would love to see that blog. Make sure we get it in the show notes, because
Absolutely.
anytime a customer can come in and see exactly what the the operational impact is for enabling more services, that's a deal breaker more time. Our technology is rock solid, but when customers get into the price and they scratch their head, and rather than admit they need help, they just this is too convoluted. We don't want to do this, but you just got to go in it. So wherever that link is, I definitely want to do that. Rod, did you just do it? Oh,
Yeah.
of course he just did it.
Rod's always on the links. He's always got the rodtrent.com short form. That's how he gets all the hits to his website, right, Rod? It's just
that's all
redirects.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Lara and Future, one thing that we usually ask guests when they come on is to just give us a quick 2-minute introduction and how did you get into IT? How did you get into security? Just to sort of help encourage other people, and especially since it is Women in Cyber Month, especially encouraging young women out there.
Yeah, I can go first. So I actually graduated from college in May 2020. I went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee.
Go
And when I
Commodores.
was, go Commodores. And when I was in college, I got a message on LinkedIn from someone at Microsoft saying, like, we want you to apply to this role. So I did. I thought it was a spam message. Like, I thought I was being scammed there. I was like, there's no way Microsoft wants me to apply. But I applied and I actually got an interview and it said Microsoft.com. So I figured that it would work out. And they flew me out for an interview. It went really well. Of course, like that's why I'm here. And I joined as a customer engineer. It was also called a premier field engineer back in the day. Now I think they're cloud solution architects. I worked there for a year. I started with modern work, working with Microsoft Teams, and it just didn't really interest me. Like the networking aspects of it didn't interest me as much as securing Microsoft Teams. Yeah. So then I started diving deeper into Microsoft 365 security and compliance. And then when a role opened up in the customer experience engineering team, it was all about Azure and multi-cloud security. So I said, okay, I'll just learn more technologies. And I did that. And now I'm here.
Awesome. That's a great story.
Amazing.
So
What
they
about you,
flew you
Future?
out. That's
Yeah.
a story.
It was
I didn't
before
get flown out
COVID,
anywhere.
before COVID.
Yeah, we have to pay for our own flights.
It's
I know,
it's
right?
those mock hires. But
Yeah.
tell us your story, Future.
Yeah, so similar to Lara, I graduated college May of 2020, and then
God,
so
such
I had
babies.
yeah yeah I had interviewed at Microsoft like a couple of months prior to that, but I knew that I really wanted to be a product manager. At a previous internship, I spent a lot of time like shadowing product managers, and I thought the role was really interesting. Um, and I liked that they had the opportunity to influence the product and add in the customer voice. So I knew that it was something that I really wanted to do in my career. And Microsoft was actually one of the few companies, I don't know if it's changed in the last 3 years, but one of the few companies that was like offering or one of the few large companies offering product manager roles for new grads. So I applied to the position, and I was selected to interview within the security organization. And like Lara, I was flown out to Redmond.
Cool.
Oh, is that I was
Yeah.
waiting for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I interviewed with some people in the security org, and in the end, I landed on the current team that I'm on now. So I've actually been working with this team for in July it would be 3 years, and I really like it. I've had a lot of opportunities to grow in my role. My role itself has kind of evolved over the years. So previously we would speak to customers about the overall Defender for Cloud. I mean, even the product itself has evolved a lot over 3 years. Um, and then recently we started doing like these subject matter experts. So that's how I ended up getting really involved in Defender for Containers. And I'm very, very happy it ended up that way, because I love talking about containers and Kubernetes.
Awesome.
I have a couple of books of my own about Kubernetes. Yeah, I mean, I look forward to watching like different YouTube videos explaining Kubernetes. Even the architecture, sometimes I confuse myself very often with the architecture, but I mean, it's something that I love getting a refresher on. I just find the subject to be so interesting, and I really believe in like the purpose of Kubernetes and microservices, and I'm glad that I'm working on this plan.
I love that.
Me
You're
too.
excited about what you do.
I know.
That's
Welcome.
awesome.
You're
You
definitely in the
laughed
right
about
place.
it. Yeah, you
I-
laughed about it, but I'm a geek the same as
Yeah,
you, and
we're
Yeah,
all
I get
nerds here.
excited about it.
And being confused is a good thing. That means experience. You start second guessing yourself because you know so
Exactly.
much. You're like,
Yeah.
what did I do? So as I listen to your stories, am I correct in saying that your focus in college wasn't cyber, but it was information technology and you gravitated towards cyber?
I was a general engineering major, so I took like one computer science course in college, and I didn't like it very much. It was hard. I spent most of my time in college taking like civil engineering classes. I was really into transportation engineering, but I knew that probably wouldn't lead to much success in my life. So I don't know when I got interested in security, but it was after I joined Microsoft for sure, when I realized how dynamic it is and how I've always been a generalist. Like that's why I did general engineering in college, because I couldn't make up my mind. And with security, you get to work with every product. Like you
No
get to
doubt.
be an expert in Kubernetes, you got to be an expert in DevOps, you got to be an expert in everything Azure, AWS, and GCP, but it's just about securing them. So it's a way to, keep me on my feet and always have to learn more.
And
Yeah.
future?
Yeah, I studied something called cognitive science. So I knew I wanted to go into tech. I also took an intro computer science class, and I think that was my junior year of college, and I actually wish I would have taken it earlier because I really liked that class. I'd never been so excited to do my homework before. But I really enjoyed that class. I wish I had more time for it, but I mean, as I was getting closer to graduation, I just there was only time I could put into
Well,
um,
you,
preparing for just one class.
you have
Yeah, go
vision.
ahead.
You said cognitive sciences. It seems like that's the new shiny. It's everything
Yeah.
that's going on right now. AI, chat, GP Rod, all this stuff that's going on. And you have the aptitude, it sounds like, and a passion for it. Oh, that's a great story. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I don't. I'm now I know I'm really going to dive into Kubernetes because you're right. It's just something about it, and I started reading about it, and Lyra extraction, this and that is so far from virtual machines where it's similar but different. So,
Yeah, exactly.
oh yeah,
Right.
loving that.
Future, do you like those YouTube videos where they've got the translucent piece of glass and they've got the marker and he's drawing they are drawing out the architecture? I love those videos. I could just sit in front of those all day, watching and learning
Yeah,
architecture.
I love those as well. I also like reading different analogies for explaining a Kubernetes cluster. Um, I've heard a couple. I think one of my favorites is like the post office system. So someone compared it to like you have your package, you put what you want in the box, tape it up, and then you just send it off to the post office, and then they take care of all the complicated stuff. They take care of all the routes that the package is going to go to get to its destination. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I always find that it's really helpful in like explaining a really complicated subject.
Very
Well,
cool.
I'll have to get Lara and Future in the Discord so you guys can. I don't know if you guys are on Discord, but we have a very active group of nerds on there asking questions. So with y'all's expertise, I'm sure it could be some great
Definitely.
discussion.
No licensing questions, Discord. Okay, be
No
nice.
licensing question. Yeah, if you get a
Maybe
licensing
next
question,
week,
you're gonna get an
after
answer.
Microsoft Secure, we can talk about some licensing.
Oh, okay.
Or
Ooh,
just send them to
tidbit
So
there, tidbit.
Price
Okay.
estimation dashboard.
you two are presenting at Microsoft Secure.
No.
Oh,
No.
I will be presenting at RSA though, if anyone will be there and wants to hang out. Just
well, they won't
yes.
fly us out. So we can't go.
Can
We
you
were
get
trying
us
to send
passes?
Rod out, but he bailed on us last time. So last minute rather.
That's really
Uh,
cool. Speaking at RSA, that's really cool. I've never even
And-
been before, and you get to speak at it. That's a really
Yeah.
that's a cool
With
accomplishment.
my best friend Drew. We
Oh.
talked about him earlier. Yeah.
Drew is
What's-
all right.
What's
Lara,
the topic so anyone that's going can know to look you up?
It's what the heck is a CNAPP and why should I use it? So CNAPP Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. I didn't come up with the name, but I definitely don't mind it.
It's nice
Aren't
of
you
them to
also
see.
doing a Learn Live? in a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
weeks? Yeah.
I am
so
doing that. Yeah.
I think that's supposed to be. That's technically, I think it's supposed to be part of Secure. So I didn't know if you knew that.
All right. So I guess I
Yeah.
am speaking at Secure.
It's hilarious. I guess I'm signed up for that. I guess I'm going to be doing that. Hilarious.
That
Well,
is.
I'll put the link
You
in the
both
show
did
notes.
you both did a great job during the internal airlift sessions, and that's where I met you originally. I thought you did an amazing job on this topic, and that's how we originally got in touch. So I'm glad that you keep getting speaking opportunities, presenting opportunities. Thank you very much for coming on this show. I mean, it's great having passionate folks like yourselves that are passionate about security, passionate about these technologies, that want to come on and learn and teach. And we're lucky to have people like you in Microsoft. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there some way that people could try out any of these Defender products?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
free for the. I don't want to talk over you, Future.
Oh, no, I was going to say the same thing. There's a
We're-
30-day
we
free
should say
trial.
at the same time. They're free for the first 30 days.
Yeah.
In a subscription, if you've never turned on a Defender plan before, you can go ahead and test it out. It'll be free for those 30 days. There's also the free foundational cloud security posture management capabilities that will always be free. So if you just want to understand where you have misconfigured resources, you can use that, understand what your secure score is. If you have a high secure score, like 90%, that means you're doing a pretty good job at reducing risk. If you have a really low secure score, that's something that you want to look at. You want to look at those free recommendations. And we have a new plan called Defender Cloud Security Posture Management. That's in public preview. So when it's in public preview, that's a great time to test it out and get that experience without having to pay for it yet.
Cool.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Well,
Try it before you buy it.
Exactly.
it was a pleasure to have you on the show. I've learned a lot on those CXC calls that come across. I actually pay attention and take notes. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. So I go back in and do it later. You're very much so respected, and your skill depth is getting better and better and better and better and better. So who is Kara your one, right? She's your manager? Is that who it is?
No, we
Yuri
don't.
and
Oh, you
McCoy.
can't say the names over here. I'm just wondering. It keeps changing. I'm just trying to figure out which group it is. I'm sorry, beyond the topic. That's all.
We go up to Mike Adams. I think I'm allowed to say that name. I don't see why not. But I report directly to Yuri. I know he's been mentioned on this podcast before. I listened to an episode where you were all talking about him. He's my manager, and future goes up to someone named McConan, who's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yuri's in the chat with us right now.
And
Uh-oh.
on LinkedIn right now. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Hi,
you go.
Yuri.
He's writing this on the connect.
Shout out to Yuri, a great manager.
Yours good. He releases a book a month. It seems.
We were just
Yuri,
talking
come on
about
the
that.
show.
The
You're right, the
competition
book
between
of
him and
month.
Oren. Yeah.
I had to stop
man.
following him on Twitter because he made me feel guilty about my workouts.
That too.
Like, Jesus, how much leg weight can you press?
All right. So, well, to all of our listeners, please, and supporters and viewers, please send any questions you may have. We'll gather any of the front-facing social media impact so you can connect to these two outstanding guests. Great time. You should at least go look at Defender for X meaning whatever it may be. I'm playing around in it now, and it's so much new stuff. And I think I work in the stuff partially, and I'm like, wow, when did that come in here? So I'm seeing it now, and it's pretty straightforward. Even around pricing, there are no gotchas. Just read the print; it'll tell you exactly what it is, right? So that's really good. I don't have any other questions. Andrea, any other questions for our guests?
No, thank y'all so much for coming on. I love when we get to have a nice technical discussion. So thank y'all for bringing your smarts.
Thanks for
Agreed.
having us. Sorry we got
Thank you.
really into the weeds.
No,
No,
love
that's
it.
that's
Love
That's
it.
just how our
That's great.
brains work.
That's not
Yeah.
to say that our previous guests were, not that good, but
Well, we're changing goddesses out. We got two new goddesses. I'm sorry about our last guest. We're gonna have to replace you. I'm in trouble now.
Come back
Nice-
on
nice working
anytime
with
in
you
the
guys.
future.
Yeah.
all right.
Get into
So-
the weeds anytime you want. It was great having you both
Absolutely.
on. Tell Yuri to come on the show. See if you can convince him. We'd love to have him. And yeah, everybody listening, thank you for the support. Join our Discord. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
All right, everyone. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.